Welcome to Strung Out, the podcast that looks at life through the lens of an artist. Your host is the artist, writer, and musician, Martin Lawrence McCormack. Now here's Marty.
Hey everybody, welcome to Strung Out, and I have a special program for the 250th anniversary of our country. With me is a longtime friend, Pat Gorman. Pat has an interesting, I wouldn't call it a hobby, but what I would call it is a passion. And
Great.
And that he has been able to locate graves of fallen heroes, soldiers that have fought for the United States. And these are graves that, for the most part, are unmarked, and they don't have any history. So he has worked with to basically be a sleuth to go into it. So
Yes.
So welcome, and let's start from the very beginning. How did you get into this?
Okay. Well, I spent a lot of years as president or a board member of the Lee County Historical Genealogical Society in Dixon, Illinois. And one of the fundraising methods we used was doing a cemetery walk in our local city cemetery, Oakwood, Dixon, Illinois. And one year, I believe it was 2007, after we had concluded the cemetery walk, put everything away, and I was walking out the gate of walking down the road out the gate of the cemetery. I looked to the right of me, and there is this what appeared to be a star that was old and bent over and broken, and it was sitting by a grave. And I said, "Gee, I wonder what that is." And I went over and looked at it, and it was indeed a star. And I didn't know exactly what it was, but I recognized the symbols on it, the crossed cannons, the crossed sabers, and the crossed muskets. And it had a number in the center of it. I don't remember the particular number, the first one I saw, but that's not important. And it was pretty weather worn. And I said, my God, somebody ought to fix this. So, not being real sharp, I decided.
You volunteered.
I volunteered myself, yes, I did.
And what was it? What did it turn out to be?
It was a star from post number 299 of the Dixon Grand Army of the Republic chapter.
And you know, a lot of people will not have a clue of what you're talking about. What is the GAR?
Okay, it's the Grand Army of the Republic. I believe it was founded in 1886, but don't quote me on that. I need my hard drive, Marty.
I know. We're doing this out in Colorado.
Yes, and I'm from Dixon, and he's from Chicago.
He's working from the memory bank up here.
Oh, God.
So the
Yes.
GAR, around 1880s.
Right. It was a fraternal organization for Civil War veterans, kind of like the VFW, American Legion. And it was founded, I believe, like I said, in 1886. And every town, just like the American Legion and the VFW, had a post or a chapter. And Dixon had post number 299, and they had members. Like I said, it was a fraternal organization, and they conducted meetings and conducted their business. They buried their fallen comrades with honor guards, and just like we do nowadays. And had no clue at the time what the number in the center meant. So I started going through our files at the Genealogy Society, and this is where I was fortunate enough to find a program from 1946. It was Memorial Day program, May 28th, 1946, and it listed all the veterans' burials from foreign wars, and United States and foreign wars, the soldiers that were buried up in Oakwood Cemetery. And here is a long list of over 300, and I believe it was 319, the last one being John B. Ford, and he had a number by his name. He died. He was the last soldier from the Civil War to die in Dixon. He died in 1942, and he had number 319.
Wow.
So the first gentleman to die that was a soldier of the post 299 was G.H. Lawrence. He got number 1. He got star number 1. He died in the bridge disaster of 1873, May 4th.
What was that?
That was a first iron bridge constructed across the Rock River. It was called the Truesdale Bridge.
Oh, okay, yes.
They were having a baptism several months after it was dedicated, and it was a Baptist baptism, and everybody moved to the one side of the bridge, and the pillars snapped across. 46 people died in that event.
Amazing that you have somebody that would be a veteran going through all the years of the Civil War
And having to die.
and then dying in that horrible
Bridge
disaster.
Yes.
That bridge disaster is one of the worst disasters, I think, in American history.
It is the single largest bridge collapse disaster by number of casualties and people injured.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it sounds like people are dying behind us, we're very close to the the hot springs here in Glenwood Springs. And so we're at this Hotel Colorado, which is a magnificent place, but right
Yes.
near this water park.
Right.
And there's one particular kid that sounds like they're on their last legs. But
Yes.
I digress. So he dies there, and the last person that dies with the GAR is around 1914 then?
1942.
1942.
John Ford. Yes.
Damn. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I found this document, this program, and it finally dawned on me what the numbers meant. It was the order in which they died.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Lawrence got star number 1 and star number 2 and 3 and 4. Now, some of them were to honor their fallen comrades that actually died during the war. I cite as an example, number 34 was Benjamin H. Gilman. He was a second lieutenant, 13th Illinois Infantry. He contracted, I believe, dysentery, and he was sent home to Dixon, and he died in March of 1863. And he got star number 34, and I don't have their meeting minutes, they're lost to time.
Mm.
But how they decided to give Mr. Gilman 34 when, they were all in numerical order by death, most of them.
That's interesting.
That's what they did, and
Or maybe
I
the
can't
request,
question that.
the request of the family, maybe,
Yes,
or something
yes,
like that. Because
yes.
I can only imagine the VFW or something like that. The GAR would
Right.
be an honorific, society to be in.
One of the saddest stories was Mr. Gilman,
Mm.
Lieutenant Gilman. He died in March of 1863. He had several children before he died. 2 small children that died in infancy. They're buried at Oakwood. And then lo and behold, to plunge the dagger in farther, his wife died in the bridge disaster of 1873, along with his mother-in-law. But one of his children, Benjamin H. Gilman Jr., he survived. He went on to be in the 13th United States Infantry. He too died shortly after going up San Juan Hill.
Wow.
He too had a son that died in early youth. I don't remember how old he was. He's buried in Dixon with the rest of the family. But lo and behold, when I was doing the research for the Civil War guys, I found that Benjamin or any member of his family had a grave marker. So that was one of the first ones that I did in Dixon, is to order a marker from the VA after I presented proof of service. And he now has a grave marker. You can look him up. He's on Find a Grave under one of my virtual cemeteries. So,
And we'll provide that link
Yes.
to the people that are watching this visually, and we'll provide that link on the notes for as we always do with the Buzzsprout edition. So the VA, what do these markers look like? Or are they those stones we're used to seeing, like the white stones, or are they actually metal markers? Or
they're both.
They're both. Okay.
I know that's not a correct answer, or not a single out answer, but you have a choice of what types of marker you can order. We've all seen Arlington Cemetery with the rows upon rows upon rows of the white upright marble or granite. And that's my personal favorite.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, you can see those a mile away. But a lot of the cemeteries don't like to weed whack around them now. So they get the flat bronze ones or the flat marble or granite ones.
Okay.
And then there's also, you can order just a bronze plaque to put it on the back of a family marker. If the soldier's grave is already marked, he's not entitled to a separate VA marker.
Okay.
All right, so you can get the bronze plaque that could be attached to the back of the family marker.
So if the family had the person buried and
Had a marker, yeah.
and had a marker, the military doesn't want to mess with that too much. They'll have the marker that you can put onto the tomb.
Correct.
And that. But now what I find kind of interesting with what you have done is you've had to do a lot of sleuthing to find some of these guys that just basically died and were, and especially like the Irish soldiers.
Right.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about that? Because I think that's just amazing.
Well, I'll have to backtrack a year or two.
Go ahead.
Start at the beginning. I was in a pub in Ireland, and I know the audience, if anyone knows me out there, they'll find that hard to believe. But it was about 10 o'clock at night. My wife and I were in a pub in Castlebar, and in walks the mayor, who's a friend of mine. He says, I want you to go with me. I want you to meet a guy. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to go meet Michael Feeney, a gentleman and author from Castlebar, County Mayo, Ireland. Well, we went to his home. It was after 10 o'clock at night, and I said, Blackie, what are we doing here? I mean, it's late. It's not the Irish custom to go to bed early. You go out to the pub at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So anyway, after I got past that thought, I met Michael. We had a great time. He knew that I was a genealogist and fairly good one at that. And he said he had just written a book called Male Comrades of the Great War, 1914 to 1919. And in it were stories of all the boys that left from County Mayo and off to World War I. Some of them survived, some of them fought and died. Some of them were lost to time, some of them lost in the American Army. And they were, brought home to Castlebar, buried usually in graves that were marked, but a lot of times they were not. But he handed me a piece of paper. It had 4 names on it, and he said, these 4 did not make the book. We didn't get to the publisher in time. We were notified after the fact about these 4 soldiers. And he said, can you help me? And I said, I would be glad to, but I don't know how to do military research at that time. I did not know. I had never done it before. So that's where it started. I set about teaching myself how to do military research, all the websites, all the people, Personnel Records Center in St. Louis, the National Archives, the American Battle Monuments Commission, the Veterans Administration. All these organizations have clues or help to help you find your lost loved ones. Well, I did. I found all 4 of them. One was severely injured, but he did survive. Thomas Herbert, I remember, was one of the names on the list. But so that's where my career, I guess if you'd call it, my passion started for military research. And then 4 turned to 5, and 5 turned to 6, and lo and behold, I ended up probably doing 100 or about 150 names that went to the Veterans Park in Castlebar. Michael's grand plan was to create a Veterans Park. You see, his great-grandfather, I believe, was killed in World War I in 1914, and he wanted to wait to honor him and all the boys that left from Mayo. So his grand vision was to build the Mayo Peace Park Garden of Remembrance, and it was dedicated in 2008, and it is there. And there's a black granite wall there with, the last time I heard an official number was 1,185 names on that wall of boys from County Mayo, Ireland that died in World War I. And I know for a fact that there's more there now. It's probably close to 1,200 or 1,300 that they found.
And for the listener, these are guys that were, for the most part, in the British Army, or
both
in the American Army?
British Army, Canadian Army, and the American Army.
Canadian Army.
I focused on the American side, and I had a colleague in Great Britain. Let me remember her name. It escapes me right now. It'll come to me. It's old age. The gray cells, like Poirot said, they're not working.
They're not firing.
Yeah, they're not firing. But anyway, she did all the English research, and I did the American research. And as recently as 2018, I was given another name by Michael. It was a gentleman by the name of Martin Cunningham. He died in 1918. His remains were brought home to Mount Olivet Cemetery in Chicago, not very far from where the late great Al Capone is buried. I found out about him through Michael, like I said, And I got a VA marker. I'm not going to tell you all the problems that I had with the Chicago Archdiocese, but the long and short of it, I called in a favor, and a lady in Catholic Charities paid to have the concrete poured because he got a flat marble marker
Okay.
because they didn't want to be bothered to
Weed whack.
around it.
Wow.
So we got a flat one. And the Chicago Tribune covered the story actually before the ceremony that we were going to have for it. And I was contacted by a Chicago police officer and his brother. They wanted to arrange for a bagpiper, a priest, and they had another reporter from the Chicago Tribune there to cover it.
Cool.
And the cool part of it was his name was Tommy O'Gorman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So like almost like family.
almost like family.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, it is family in a way. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you have kind of found this to be like a brother in arms
Pretty much.
with these guys that
Yeah.
would never have you. Had you not been doing this, they would be just basically lost to time.
Forgotten. And we had that ceremony on the 100th anniversary of Martin's death.
Wow.
Martin Cunningham.
Martin Cunningham. We're going to take a little break here.
Okay.
With Patrick Gorman. We're going to actually, we've got a little bit of weather coming in, so I'm going to shift our seats so we even have more light on Pat's face, because we need it. He's a good-looking guy. You might as well see as much of him as possible. So we're talking about honoring the people that give the ultimate sacrifice for America. And when we come back, I want you to just touch on some of the bureaucratic nightmares you've had with our own government trying to get this stuff done. So
Right.
You're on Strung Out.
Hello, this is Polly Chase, presenting artwork by Martin McCormick. This painting, titled Dude, features a mountain range that holds a special place in Marty's heart. On the canvas, which measures 20 by 24, we see the Tetons rising in the hazy distance of a view from an abandoned dude ranch just outside Jackson Hole, Wyoming, near Marty's parents' old place. The cool blues and violets of the background complement the buttery yellow foreground. These colors pass the viewer's attention back and forth along the horizontal plane, while the decaying Model T sinks into that scrubby landscape from which the majestic peaks punch upward along the vertical plane. It's a quiet yet very moving scene, both artistically and emotionally. It pulls the imagination into a human story waiting to be told, one witnessed by rock that is millions of years old. To explore this painting and more of Marty's artwork, go to martinmccormick.com.
Welcome back on Strung Out, and it is kind of an overcast day here in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and Patrick has been gracious enough to cut some time from his vacation with his wife, celebrating their 50th anniversary, to talk about these fallen soldiers and the work that he has done to honor them. I know you've had a lot of trouble just with bureaucracy. That seems so strange that the government would have any sort of bureaucratic stranglehold on.
Yeah, I can cite a particular case that I played a small role in it, but another friend of mine, I helped him learn military research, and he took the ball and he not only ran with it, he ran into the end zone with it.
Wow.
And by that I mean a friend of mine from Madison, he's an independent journalist. His name is Jed Henry, and he and I met over the phone quite by accident. One day I was at the office of the Genealogy Society, and we were closed. I was there doing work for myself. I answered the phone, and it was Jed. He introduced himself, and he was looking for an obituary for a gentleman that was from Dixon. He was in the process of tracing his grandfather's footsteps from Normandy forward, and he was tracking down the fellow soldiers of his grandfather's unit, and I believe the man's name was Mr. Brown. And if I'm not right on that, it's the Gray Cells. Either way, I looked up the obituary because he was supposedly lost in the war. And I said, no, Jed, he died in 1984 in a car accident on the Glen Avenue Bridge in Dixon, Illinois.
Oh my God.
And he and I talked, and he told me of his project, and long story short, he and I became good friends. And then, as all good projects do, it morphed into something bigger. Jed, through his research, like I said, I gave him all my links, all my tips, everything I could teach the young man. And he found out about daily reports from the National Archives. He learned so much more than I knew, and he taught me a few things. But as we moved along, he came across a particular case of a soldier from Canada, East End, Saskatchewan, Canada. And he was a young boy. He joined the American Army thinking he would be better and more well-equipped to serve. And he was right, because we're the best. And on August 13th, 1944, he was in an armored personnel carrier. It took a direct hit from a German tank, an 88 millimeter shell, and there was 2 survivors, and unfortunately, the one boy that Jed was tracking passed away. He was burned to death, a horrible death. The soldier's name was Lawrence S. Gordon. And out of respect, that's the only thing that Jed and I could determine, was out of respect, the Germans took their trench coats and covered the body, which was, I guess, the moral thing to do. There is honor sometimes out there.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
for some unknown reason, Lawrence was buried as an unknown in a German grave, St. James Cemetery, for 70 years. And oddly enough, his billfold was sent home to his girlfriend in Canada.
Which just nuts.
Which is just nuts. But I gave Jed a little bit of help. I assisted with some of his research. But like I said, he took the ball and ran with it. He tracked down Lawrence's great-nephew, surviving family members. He tracked down the girlfriend that got the billfold and interviewed her. And basically, he got the French and the German government to assist in the exhumation. I mean, he did all this research from the National Archives, and he determined that he was buried here. And long story short, through DNA analysis, Lawrence Gordon was identified.
Wow.
The American government did not want to accept the results. And I'll say they fought us tooth and nail. They fought Jed tooth and nail, because this is not my part of the story. I did not help with this, and I don't want to take anything away from Jed. But long story short, the United States government relented when they saw the equivalent of the FBI from France and Germany, their divisions. You know, I don't know what they call them.
Yeah.
But it was comparable to our FBI, I believe. And they finally accepted the results of the DNA after they were sent again to Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And they took Lawrence's remains and they drove to Saskatchewan, and we had a funeral there on the 70th anniversary of his death, 2013. Yeah.
Isn't that just fantastic?
It is. It's just amazing. And basically, through all the stubbornness from the United States government, they have now embraced DNA technology versus anthropology, what they used to use. I mean, they still use anthropology, yes, but DNA is, I mean, it does not lie. You cannot hide from it.
So you have witnessed then even the technological developments in the field of identifying
Correct.
unknown remains and such.
Yes.
Have others taken up the cause inspired by you to find these graves? Or
I don't know
do you
if it
feel
was
like they're not
inspired.
by
I don't know. I can honestly say that Jed has done some amazing work, and I'm sure there's other people just like Jed Henry out there doing it. And throwing in a plug for my friend, there's a video on YouTube honoring a commitment.
Right.
The story of Lawrence S. Gordon. If you've got an hour, you watch it.
Well, I sent it up to my friend who's a colonel of Canada.
Cool.
And he thoroughly enjoyed it and just and loved the historical significance of
Yes,
it.
it was just amazing. The whole story is just absolutely amazing.
Well, we got a little bit of rain coming through, but it'll pass. I think we'll be okay with the water on the fall now.
All right.
But at least I might quiet the kids at the pool.
Right. As far as my cooperation with the Veterans Administration,
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Those guys have been just absolutely fabulous to work with. American Map Monuments, I knew the lady there on a first name basis. I'm very happy that she retired, but I'm very sad to see her go.
I mean, how many? Is there any idea in your mind of like how many of these graves still exist?
Oh, I mean, they're finding. I mean, I'm no authority on it, but I know they're still finding remains. I still know that there's remains out there, mass graves for the Civil War. We all know that. I had a lady contact me. I have a Find a Grave memorial for a particular soldier. I have it listed as lost at war. He died in a hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. We can't find where he's buried. And there's military cemeteries all over Tennessee, and he's not there. We don't know what happened to him. I hope, beyond hope, that he wasn't tossed in a trench and forgotten about.
But that happens. Yeah.
It does happen, sadly. It does indeed happen.
So it must be a sweet victory then to be able to get one of these safely all the way through.
Exactly.
Wow.
And as I ended up Oakwood Cemetery, I mentioned, the Civil War stones. I would find the stars, I would find records of their burial, because I made a lot of good friends with the guys who worked up at Oakwood. And I'd go to the site where they're buried and there's no marker. So I ended up probably getting close to 40 or more markers for Civil War veterans in Oakwood Cemetery.
Just at that cemetery. So if that's any indication,
Yeah,
then there's a lot of work to be done.
exactly.
Is there any sort of organization, or is there any sort of, through the veterans, or that you're aware of, training people to do what you do?
Not that I'm aware of. I know the Sons of Union veterans, they like to keep track of graves that are found and stuff like that, but honestly, I do not know if there is. I could tell you one more story from Ireland if you'd like.
Yeah.
Again, I was contacted by Martin during this project, and he asked me to find proof of service and proof of death to get a marker. That's what you have to do. Not so much proof that you died in service, because any veteran is entitled to a marker. But we were searching for those that died in service, and I was given the name by Michael, Martin Strung. I searched and I searched for 3 years trying to find the correct records for Martin Strung. Because lo and behold, I found out that there was 14 of them from County Mayo, Ireland.
With the name Martin Strung?
That were in World War I.
Oh my God. Wow.
And
Funny.
it started out as my first failure. And that's a little hard to swallow, because I'm not close to perfection. But anyway, the park that I had mentioned, the Garden of Remembrance, was dedicated in 2008. And again, we were sitting in a pub the night before we were scheduled to go home. We were with our sister city family, Ray and Helen Norton. And Helen was a nurse at Mayo General Hospital in Castlebar. And she thanked me for all that I had done, finding all the soldiers from World War I for Castlebar. And I said, well, Helen, I appreciate the thank you, but I said, I've got one more that I still cannot find. She asked me what his name was. I said, Martin Staunton. And she just gave me the funniest look. Because earlier in the week, she was discussing the upcoming events at the Mayo Peace Park, and her nursing colleague told her about her great uncle who was brought home in a body bag.
Oh my God.
Martin Staunton. Normally, you've got to drag me kicking and screaming out of Ireland to go home. But this time, I couldn't wait to get home, because I had a birth date for Martin. I had talked with the family. I got a date. And from there, I was able to locate his records, proof of service. Martin, 3 years later, now has a nice bronze grave marker in Termakiti Cemetery in County Mayo, Ireland.
We're going to take a little break and move our chairs one more time, because this is one hell of a rainstorm.
You're getting rain on the
You're on Strung Out.
When they lowered the door, you splashed toward the shore. You knew they were waiting for you. What went through your mind? What thoughts did you find as above you the bullets flew? All the great words that you have heard, that once sounded so grand, were cloudy with doubt through the screams and the shouts as you pressed your face to the sand. Still, if not you, then you wondered who would be there to take your place. And deep in worth it, you muttered as you staggered to your feet, with your gun in your pack, under attack for the neighbor on your street. Give me liberty or give me death, never more's true. And you gave your liberty with a final breath as bullets tore through you. Polished marble gravestone in a polished marble sea. You did your part, will we do ours for the gift of liberty? A polished marble gravestone in a polished marble sea. You did your part, will we do ours for the gift of liberty?
Hey, want to show your support of Martin's artist endeavors? Buy Me a Coffee is an online site that makes supporting Marty easy. In just a few taps, you can make a payment of any amount, and no account is needed. You can also decide to become an ongoing supporter. Go to martinmccormack.com and click on the words Support Martin. Let's help Martin keep it all caffeinated.
Well, we're now way back on the porch here at the Hotel Colorado, and we're still feeling the effects of this rainstorm. So Martin Strung, did he fight in World War
One.
One?
World War One. American Army.
American Army?
Yep.
So how began? And so where was his body? Did it come to Ireland then?
It did. He belonged to the family.
Okay.
But, you know, the families back then were so poor they couldn't afford a marker for them. So
Right.
he laid in an unmarked grave.
It's just interesting. Was it easier for the U.S. government to bring him to Ireland? I mean, was he considered an American citizen, or what would be?
I can't honestly say without looking it up, but I don't believe he was. I don't
Okay.
believe he was.
Just fought in the American Army.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes. The SS Millwater in I can't remember if it was 1919 or 1921, 64 bodies.
Wow.
Yeah, look it up, the SS Millwater,
Okay.
and many of them went to county mail.
Uh,
Without boring the audience to death, I can tell you one more story.
yeah, please do.
Another good friend of mine over in Ireland that is friends with Michael Feeney as well is Ron Halco. He is the commander of the American Legion Post, number 3, the Commodore John Barry Post in Ireland. Yes, we've got an American Legion Post in Ireland. Ron was from Flint, Michigan, was in the service, met a girl in Ireland, married her, and they lived there ever since. He contacted me about the United States Naval officer. He was contacted by this man's family. His name was John King, and he was a 2-time Medal of Honor recipient for the United States of America.
Wow. 2 times. Wow.
2 times, not 1 but 2. It appears that John King was such a hero, he saved sailors on 2 different occasions. I think World War I, and before that, I think it was the Spanish-American War. Like I said, my facts are foggy, the story is clear. Boiler explosions aboard each ship. He went in and he rescued sailors from certain death.
Wow.
And for that, he received the Medal of Honor twice. moving ahead, John dies in 1916. He too was in an unmarked grave, but I had no part of getting him a marker. The local area VA got him a marker where he was buried. I believe he's buried in Arkansas. Moving ahead to the 1970s, the United States Navy dedicates a ship, a guided missile destroyer, the very first one, Vietnam era, in his honor, the USS John King.
How cool is that?
Very cool. And then there's irony. The first commander of the ship went to Ireland, borrowed the medals, all John King's medals, from the family, including the medals of honor. They were in the mess deck on the USS John King. And guess what happened?
Don't tell me a boiler accident.
A boiler explosion. And to get to the engines on a destroyer, you have to take out the mess deck and go down and perform the maintenance. And that's when the medals disappeared.
Oh my God.
Ron Halko told me the story. He contacted me and wanted me to find the medals. I interviewed crew members. I tracked down the original captain of the ship, who retired as a rear admiral, not too far from us. He was in Liberty, Iowa, West Liberty, Iowa. Admiral Albert Sackett, Rear Admiral Albert Sackett. He and I became fast friends.
Cool.
I interviewed crew members, and the best that we can determine is that they disappeared during the refurbishing of the engines. We don't know where they went. Contacted the United States Navy. They replaced a couple of them. I went out on eBay and I found the rest, not the originals. I found original medals, but not John King's. I want to be clear on that.
Right.
U.S. Army surplus, for sale on eBay, whatever. I tracked down all his medals that he was entitled to, and I replaced them all with my own money, and I'm not bragging. It was an honor to do it. Except 20 years in Leavenworth if you reproduced a medal of honor.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't look good in stripes.
No.
So,
I'll be damned.
yeah. So I got all the medals. I had them sent to Ireland. And the whole purpose of this was to bring attention to John King and his upbringing in Ballinrobe, Ireland, which again is in County Mayo. They were in the process of building a bronze statue in the county, or in the town square. And we were invited, Carol and I, to the dedication.
How cool is that?
And we met the family and we just had a great time. And one more little story of irony.
Please.
You and I were talking to the two ladies out on the patio here the other night.
Right?
And where were they from? Anaconda, Montana. 40 miles from nowhere, probably.
Right. It's
But it was a copper mining town. And there was two young boys, William and James Forkin, from County Mayo, Ireland, that ended up in Anaconda, Montana. They signed up for World War I. William survived, James did not. I was contacted again by Michael. What happened to these boys? I found pictures of William and his family and his wife and children. James, I did not, because he did not survive the war. He was sent home like Martin, in a body bag. No grave marker. I got him a grave marker, and Caroline and I were fortunate enough to attend the grave dedication. But how ironic is that?
well, there's no such things as coincidences, is that
Yeah.
what they say?
Serendipity, isn't it?
Serendipity.
Yeah.
Well,
That was weird.
you know, it's kind of interesting that this interview has had its own little adversity with stuff blowing on us and rain.
Yeah.
Because I get the sense, you know, that the work that you do is it's a challenge. I mean,
It is.
because you're solving mysteries,
But it's fun.
but it's fun.
You get into it.
And then at the end of the day, you're meeting the descendants of these people.
I did. I met James Forkin's family.
How cool is that?
Yes.
You know, what is your recommendation if somebody is inspired by what you are doing? How can they get involved?
How can they get involved? Well, if they're talking like working in a local cemetery, the first thing I would do is go to the cemetery sexton and ask permission. And if they've got any experience in genealogical research, go to their local research facility. I'm sure, most every town or county has a historical or genealogical society. And then we all know about Ancestry.com. We all know about hopefully about fold 3 with military records. Sadly, in 1973, the St. Louis facility had a horrible fire, and a lot of the records were burned. The NPRC, National Personnel Records Center. Civil War records are still, I believe, at the National Archives, and but World War I, World War II, it was a disaster. They are in the process of trying to recreate them. I sent for my own uncles, a Bronze Star recipient from World War II, unavailable.
Wow.
They were lost in the fire.
That's what a tragedy.
But do the respectful thing, ask the cemetery for permission, and then, like I said, get involved with your local historical society and see what records they have. Or you can even contact me through Marty if that's okay.
Sure.
Be glad to help. I've never turned anyone down for help.
Yeah, if anybody out there, you can, you'll see the email address for me that you can reach out to.
Right.
And just reference this podcast, and we'll get you set up on it. I want to thank you for sitting down, taking some of your precious time from this vacation to be able to talk about this, and I think it's fitting for the 250th anniversary of our country.
I got one more thing I can add.
Sure.
Along the way, I got involved with the Veterans Memorial Park in Dixon, Illinois. Great bunch of guys, and it's an absolutely beautiful park. Stop there if you're ever in the neighborhood. But again, with the genealogy records and all those that were killed from Lee County, I started with World War I. I then did World War II. And I did recently a Korean War, and most recently a Spanish-American War bronze plaque for that park for all those from Lee County, Illinois, that died in service.
Wow.
And now I'm on to Civil War. And so far, I have tracked down records for 463 soldiers from Lee County, Illinois, that answered Abe Lincoln's call. For the 13th Illinois, the 34th, the 69th, the 75th, and many others. And so far, I'm up to 463. And there's no way in the world that I can afford to do a plaque for all 463 soldiers. So we're going to have to be creative on this.
Oh,
one.
wow.
Yes.
I just think, though, what's amazing about it is that here we are all these years after the Civil War,
Yeah.
and the war's, for these guys, the war in some ways is still not over.
Right.
I mean, they're not honored significantly. So again, thank you for what you're doing. I know you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart,
Thank you.
and what a great service to your country.
One of the names on the plaque we dedicated on Flag Day, June 14th, is Benjamin H. Gilman, Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's there in Dixon.
Wow. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this little interview that we had with Patrick Gorman. And as always, we try to find some really significant and interesting interviews. And thank you for watching or listening to Strung Out. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. For more information about this show or a transcript, visit MartinMcCormack.com. While there, sign up for our newsletter. See you next time on Strung Out.
It's all so wrong, this pain we feel makes no sense at all. A swan song wasn't part of the deal.